Welcome, listeners. I'm very excited. I have a new friend, Catherine Collins. I call her Kat. She was on Doing Divorce Different. So if you have any issues financially and are thinking about divorce, go back and listen to Doing Divorce Different. But we're happy to have you at Saddle Up Live to learn about finances. And Kat is going to share her authentic story, what led her to help. She helps a lot of women, I think, who maybe feel like they don't know about finances. So we're going to delve into that. And we're going to talk about stay-at-home moms versus working. And this is a good one that I think I really need it for my kids. They seem to be doing okay. How do you get your kids on the right financial path? So, Kat, thank you for joining us
Yeah,
and
thanks for
welcome.
having me. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. These are some of my very favorite topics. And yeah, so very quick backstory. I am a full time financial writer. I've been fully self employed for about 10 years now. And so I do financial writing. I own personal finance websites with a business partner. And my partner and I have a podcast called 5 Year You. But I don't have a finance background, I don't have a business degree. I came at it a weird way. I started a budget blog when I was in graduate school for history. And I was just writing about how broke I was and how I was trying to live on a $14,000 a year stipend. And, it was a challenging time. It's a very academically intense environment. And my blog was sort of my outlet to creatively write and share my thrift finds. And over time, to supplement my income, I started to apply to freelance writing jobs online. Again, this was in 2010, so very dinosaur blogging days. I got paid $8 a post to start, but the more experience I got, I traded out an $8 post for a $20 one and a 24 or 50, to where I am today, which fully supports me as my job. So I always love sharing that with people because there's so many finance experts out there, and there's so many amazing experts out there with letters behind their name and business school and all of that stuff. But I like to come on authentically and say, look, I didn't go to school for this, but these are things I learned from experience, from a lot of research and writing. Just because I started writing about budgeting, all the jobs I got ended up being about budgeting. Then they were about mortgages, and they were about investing. And then there was brand deals that wanted someone who was like a regular mom, a regular person to talk
Mhm.
about money. And then I got a book deal and wrote a book called Mom's Got Money, which is a personal finance book for moms. So just so your listeners know, if they're listening to this and they're like, oh, money, it's like, I get it. This is not going to be like bro finance talk. This is me coming to other women and saying, look, the language of money has been made intentionally difficult to leave us out of the conversation. And all women listening to this are smart enough and capable enough to absolutely learn everything there is to know about personal finance and sort of take their financial futures into their own hands.
Okay, Kat, I love that. And I love that about you. And I've told you that before. That's one
Yeah,
of my favorite things that you're kind of a regular gal,
I
like
am.
like all
Super
of us,
normal.
like all of us. And so
Yeah.
what that's telling the listeners is they too can become an expert. You're an expert. You get paid for writing about finances and you learned it on your own. It is
Yes.
possible. And I don't, what is that? Like, why are women sometimes, adverse to finances? I'm not sure what that is, but you said sometimes they make it more difficult than it is, and truly when you think about it, it's not that difficult. And that
Yeah.
is what I've learned with my work. Finally, now that I'm a grandma, I understand that this really isn't that hard. This is
Yep,
what you have and this is what you can spend.
that's
So
right.
voila, finally I get it.
Yeah, for sure. We could have a whole nother episode. I mean, there's an entire, cultural narrative that we've all been brought up with, and the change is slow. But we are still unearthing the narrative that, men and husbands are the ones that earn money and manage the money, and that women, their job, even if they work, is to maintain the kids and handle the mental load of all that. I think there's been so many conversations like changing that and updating that, but we're still going against a lot of societal pressures and norms and advertising that tells us otherwise.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm glad that you brought that up, which kind of could bring us into the topic of
Mhm.
stay at home moms versus
Yep.
working moms. Let's talk about that a little bit. Give us
Sure.
your perspective. And I want to say, I'm an attorney. I was a stay at home mom for many
Yeah.
years. There were really hard things about it.
Yeah.
And there were, I would
Amazing
never
things. Yeah.
change it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I have an interesting perspective on this because I have been a work from home mom the entire time. So I had twins in 2014, and that's the same year I became self employed. I was working towards that because I knew that it would be challenging and it would be fine to hard to daycare spots. I was teaching and doing museum work, but I had this whole freelance writing thing on the side that was growing, and as I watched my numbers, I remember it was the July before I had them that my writing income surpassed my day job income for the first time. And I remember thinking, if I can keep this up, then by the time they come, I might be able to stay at home with them. So I kind of did the balance thing
Yeah.
of it's very, this is not like I'm not like the Instagrammer with the $1 million business with the baby on the hip. This is just very normal. Put the twins down for a nap, write an article while they nap, leave the dishes, house is a disaster. This is very much like put the twins down for bed, write another article. But because of that, I got the perspective of what it's like to be a stay at home mom and all the challenges that come with it and all the benefits of seeing their first steps and things like that. I
Mhm.
got the benefit of earning enough finally to hire a mother's helper, then hire a babysitter for 20 hours
Right.
a week. So I had a little bit of balance, and then I get to send them off to school and then, have, 8 a.m. to 3 to work and then pick them up every day and bring them to their activities. That's what I was working towards. And so I do have the perspectives of sort of both. Like I still have sort of like a foot in both worlds. Now they're
Yeah.
10 now. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and I did that as well, and I'm gonna tell you, you sound like you're doing it beautifully. I kind of felt like I'm just gonna swear a little, which I don't usually do. I was half-ass at everything. I
It
was
does
a
feel like that.
Yeah, I was a
I
half-ass mom, and then
yeah.
I was you're just it did feel like a lot, and it is
Yeah.
a lot, so give yourself
100%.
some grace. And Kat, what I have to say is what I'm seeing now with my adult children.
Mm.
One of my daughters is almost done with her residency,
Ah,
which we're so excited about, and she's got a 3-year-old. And her
she's a
husband,
rock star.
she's a rock star, and so is her husband because he has taken on a lot.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I watch my daughter-in-law, who's a nurse, it works a little bit more part-time, and my son who works full-time. They're more partners. They
Mm.
are partners, and I am seeing a shift in this. In fact, I just did a podcast with somebody about this, which is
Yeah.
amazing, and I love it. So mamas, if you're staying home all day with your kids, you don't have to work until you fall into bed. You
Right.
can still count on your husband to be there supporting you, because if you were bringing in, daycare kids, that would be a job. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
we miss that. I think we miss that. So I'm really, that is what, like, the world can look kind of, bleh, but
Yeah.
I look at that and how my kiddos, and my husband has always been a pretty good partner.
Mhm.
I see it even more so happening.
Yes.
And that's what I want to see in finances too. I think that
Yes.
is awesome for couples if they can do it together, do their
I
finances
agree.
together. But one thing, I just have to bring this up too, and it really hit me when I was a new lawyer. And I worked a little bit. We have a big span of years between my son and our baby who we adopted. So I'm like half grandma, half
Oh,
mom to her. Yeah. So
that's so
she's in
nice.
college. I know, it's awesome. But we had a big span, and I remember, so I was working a little bit, and I was going for my continuing legal education courses, and I went and I listened to a well-known family law attorney, and she said, "Don't ever be a stay-at-home mom. I don't recommend it because then you're screwed in divorce."
Yes.
Well, I still did it. I
Mm.
still did it, and I'm glad that I did. But
Mhm.
sadly, Kat, that is what we're hearing. That's what
Yes.
the message is. It's like it's a little bit scary for women. Can you talk about that at all? And And what do
Yeah.
you do, if you are that stay-at-home mom and suddenly your husband decides he doesn't wanna be married anymore?
Yep. I mean, I think it's a great question. I went through a divorce 2.5 years ago, and I would have been absolutely terrified had I not had a business and streams of income on my own. But that's not to say that being a stay-at-home mom is wrong in any way. And I see what that family lawyer was saying. And so I would say that with an asterisk, with a caveat. I think it's possible to be a stay at home mom so long as you and your spouse sit down regularly and talk about money, but not just that, that you have money in your own name. If your spouse works and you don't, some employers offer a spousal IRA where you can have your own retirement account in your own name. It's not enough now, today, to be a stay at home mom and to do everything like if our previous generations did, because now the divorce is possible, but also emergencies, the unthinkable is possible.
Right.
And so I always tell people, like, if you're in a secure and happy marriage and you're listening to me and thinking that will never happen to me, I thought the same thing. But even if you're very secure, your spouse could still get hit by a bus tomorrow. And so it is vital. And if
Yes.
you don't want to do it for yourself, then for your children, it is vital for you to know every asset you have. It is vital for you to know how much money is in your bank account, what your spending is like. That doesn't even mean you have to have joint accounts. You can have separate accounts, but it is not enough to be a stay-at-home mom anymore. You have to have the knowledge and the financial literacy to be able to move forward in case the unthinkable happens. Because the worst time to learn about money is in the worst moments of your life.
Yep.
Right now is the time. And I do think there's a lot of men, like you said, there's been a lot of discuss about mental load. There's a lot of amazing men who do partake and who do take care of their kids. And so there are a lot of men who are open to the discussion. Things are changing now.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of men open to that discussion. And it's about the partnership and awareness. And I do
Yes.
think so. I think it's possible, but with a much stronger partnership financially.
Okay, I love that, Kat. I love that.
Hmm.
And I think that's where my husband and I probably fell a little bit short, where I took care of all the finances,
Hmm.
but I didn't know where everything was and I can't get my
Hmm.
hands on it. So now I'm like, hey, sweetheart, you got to get me on that
Yeah.
401k
Yeah.
so that I
Yeah.
also can manage it. Not
Yes.
just because I'm worried. I mean, not because I'm worried about divorce. It's because he's busy. He's got a huge job working all the time. He doesn't have
Yeah.
time to go in and figure out how to
Yeah.
take money out for the kids' college. And so, and the HSA. And I didn't do
Yeah.
that. And I wish I
Yeah.
would have. So learn
Yeah.
from that. But now, Kat, okay, so time's ticking along here. And I still want to talk about how
Sure.
to get your kids on the right financial path, because I don't think I was on a good financial path. And I know my dad did his darndest.
Sure.
He was like, I paid for everything. I worked really hard.
Yeah.
And yet I never really understood it. All through college, I would buy a bag of potatoes, eat them so that I could go buy a shirt.
Actually, it's pretty good. That's a pretty it's better than most people who would just buy both. Um, so I my like biggest thing as a mom is, yes, love my children, but I view like my job as their mom is to prepare them to be independent human beings.
Mhm.
And now, because I am a single parent to them, after getting divorced, even more so, I am like very heavy on anything that creates independence in them. And once I learn how to do something, I don't do it for them again. So I do the very controversial thing of paying my kids for chores. But when my kids go out with their friends, when they walk to town and get an ice cream, if they want to get a slice of pizza, if they want to get a t shirt, they buy it.
Yep.
Now I'll buy back to school stuff, birthdays,
Yep.
Christmas, but I am not the mom that's taking them through Target and saying, "Oh my God, this shirt's so cute. Oh my God, I got to get this for you." I don't do any of that. And so they have the ability to earn money. They earn money from doing just about every chore there is in the house, and they get money from reading books. I'll pay them $10 for a nice, big, thick chapter book. And everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe you do that. Are you kidding? They're reading a big, thick chapter book and they're
Right.
not on their iPads. But I do it and I kind of like overdo it because of the things that they're required to buy on their own. Now, my
Yes.
son, 10 years old, 18 months, he saved for a PlayStation 5. It was $500 video game console.
Wow.
I cannot tell you how many times I wanted to pat it. I wanted to like give it
Yeah.
to him for Christmas. Like there was this sad little, he's got these giant brown eyes,
Oh,
this sad little puppy dog, like, all I want for Christmas is a PS5. I just want one thing on the list. And I'm like, oh, but the confidence he got from buying it himself, which he did in March after Christmas, he turned 10. And so he finally got, the grandparent birthday money that topped it off. And it's his. He bought it.
yep.
And before that, he was buying Pokemon cards like they were going out of style. And so he had
Yes.
to make the choice, what do I want more? And that's sort of my way of preparing them. I do this in every single way. Like even when we go to the airport at 10, I just kind of stand there and I'm like, where do we go? Where's the security line? What signs do
Oh,
you see?
cat.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, okay, what's our gate number? How do you find out? Okay, where are we, and so I just kind of like let them lead and let them I try to make them as independent as possible. And I think we talk about money a ton, like maybe we should talk about other things, but that's just what they get.
Yeah.
Like, if I was a plumber, they would just hear about, plumbing all day. So that's just what they get with me and my job. Um, but I think you don't have to take it to that extreme, but I think that giving your kids the tools to make the decisions on their own is really important because it allows them to make mistakes on their own. It allows them to buy something really cheap at Claire's and have their necklace break and be devastated. And
Yep.
it allows you to have conversations of like, well, we can bring it back to the store, we can get your money back, or we can say we're not going to shop there. Like lets you have so many conversations around it.
Yep. Okay. So, Kat, I'm so impressed. And I want you to know that that's amazing that you do that
Thank
because
you.
I'm a coddler. I want to make everything perfect. And
Oh,
and you talked about your son, like my son. Oh my gosh, those little boys, they get under your
yeah,
heart,
no,
and
I
you're
know.
like,
He's gonna hurt. It's hard.
yes, it is
It's
hard.
such a
And
big it's hard.
but it's so much so that, but I think, and I want to say something interesting. I think there's a difference between my adult kids and that little one. Something
Oh, I'm sure.
changed, but I mean, something changed in how they respond to things or in this world. And I can't put a finger on what it is. But so my adult kids, I coddle them. I wanted to fix everything. I've had conversations with them like,
Yeah, of course.
okay, you know what, guys, you got to feel bad sometimes. Sorry. So we talk
Yeah,
about it now
yeah.
because I wanted to fix everything for
But
them.
that's so millennial parents. We're like, "Feel your feelings," but our parents were like, "Get over it."
Well,
It's like
mine was like, get over it. But I was like, let me fix this for you so
yeah.
you don't
Oh,
feel bad. Yeah. So
I
just
think that's kinda nice.
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah, but it wasn't about making them independent. But the
Yeah.
good thing was those older ones seemed like in the time that they were raised that they just got jobs. They
Yeah,
just paid for things on their own and
that's
they're
good.
making it. They're amazing.
Yeah,
They have families. Now, my younger one, I probably should have been better, but I mean, she's awesome too. And she's kind of an entrepreneur. She
I love that.
instead of getting a job, like started a business of taking
I
care
love
of
it.
dogs for people. And
So good. So
yeah,
amazing.
awesome. Awesome, awesome. But I and she's independent, but she kind of had to fight me on it. It's interesting. Like I can go to the airport by myself. And now she goes to
Yeah.
college,
Yeah.
states away. We have to fly to see her. But I don't know. I don't know why they turned out, but I wish I could have done a little bit more about what you're
There's probably a
talking
good
about.
balance in there. Like I said, I probably take it too far sometimes,
I don't
but,
think so. Well, so I just think maybe it was just all those prayers. so
Yeah, there
so
you
that's
go.
another thing. If you feel like it's
Sure.
screwed up, just pray about it. It will be taken care of. But
Exactly.
yeah, so I love that. And I think that that is a wonderful way to teach them. And I have noticed that with my daughter because there was a while when she would um, just be spending all the time, every little thing she
Mhm.
got. And then suddenly she went, ooh, this isn't lasting. Do I really
Yeah.
want 5,000 Goodwill sweatshirts or do I
Mm.
want to save for a Kindle? And so
Yeah.
she is figuring that out, but I think if you can help them so that they
Yeah.
don't, the earlier probably the better.
Yeah.
And the healthier you can talk about it so that it doesn't have to be something anyone's afraid of,
Mhm.
something that feels icky. It just is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I think just all the taboo topics that parents, the more we can talk to our kids about it, the better. And it sounds like your kids turned out amazing.
Thank God. Yeah, thank God. So, Catherine, our time is up. And
Yes.
I just want you to know I have loved chatting with you. I think I
Thank
might
you.
have to have you on again
Be happy to.
to talk about some other topics. And one that I can think of is, I don't know, kind of those women who are more like my age and
Mhm.
menopausal, and how
Yeah,
they're doing through the money
sure.
situation, and feeling good about themselves. So that's for another time. But
Sounds
Kat, I
good.
want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to be on both podcasts. You're just a
Yeah, my
doll.
pleasure. Thank you so
I
much.
have loved getting to know you.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. You take good care.
You too. Bye.